Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment. It helps the channel to move forward. Well, Tonto Dikeh has found a way to stay relevant throughout September by constantly, showing up on the wrong side of the news. It all started with so much back and forth between her and her latest love interest, a certain Prince Kpokpogri, who has turned out to not be the most gentle of men out there, because he always has something to say. He always has something to say. And if you ask me, I think he's using Tonto to somehow stay relevant, because nobody knew of his existence before, Tonto started dating him. And I think she has also fallen into the trap of continuing to keep him relevant by constantly having this open exchange that always winds up in social media. During the course of the week, it was stories about how the DSS had approached the fellow to explain himself because she had accused him of wanting to leak nude photos of her. And then, not quite a couple of days ago, another story came out. Was it yesterday? It's very hard to keep track of these things, believe me, because it's just so much nonsense. But, well, it's out there. So I thought so. It was either yesterday or the day before that all this, she came out with another story about how he has sex videos of himself with a number of people's wives and some other ladies, and he's also threatening to leak those, and so on and so forth. So it has been a constant back and forth between Tonto Dikeh and Prince Kpokpogri. You see, I think we've gotten to this point where many celebrities feel as if it's better to have negative publicity than to have no publicity at all. Because if you're not being mentioned, it means you're losing relevance. And as a result of that, I think we've come to that place as a people, not just Nigeria. In fact, in Nigeria, it's quite tame. Globally, you find celebrities, especially those in the entertainment industry, bending over backward to stay relevant, to remain in the news. As a result of which they keep pushing the boundaries of absurdity and, if you ask me, crass stupidity. And it doesn't make any sense, because you're only the flavor of the moment for a few minutes. You help one or two vlogs blow. People who want to follow the gossip do so. And then everybody moves on with their life, because people are too busy struggling from one moment to the next for you to hold any relevance for more than 10, 15 minutes. And then, of course, Bobrisky has weighed into. Apparently, Bobrisky, the most prominent, I don't know if I should call him a transvestite or a transgender. I don't quite know where he falls yet. But he's the most prominent in Nigeria at the moment. So yeah, a number of young men are also taking in his stride. Let's see where that goes. But he's one of Tonto Dikeh's close friends, and he had a whole, or should I say she? I don't know which pronoun to use, so I'll just go with Bobrisky. I'll just use the name to avoid being accused of insensitivity. Bobrisky had so much to say about Tonto Dikeh, none of which was good. Went on a whole rant about how she's owing Bobrisky money that she hasn't paid, and if she's owing money, how can she point fingers at other people? It may be true, it may not be. Also came out to say things about how Bobrisky was, pulled into an agenda to, kind of become enemies or drag Tonto Dikeh's ex's new wife. So Bobrisky played Bobrisky's role as best as Bobrisky could. And now that Bobrisky and Tonto Dikeh don't seem to be seeing eye to eye anymore, that has also come out. Bobrisky has a whole video out there throwing all kinds of shade at Tonto Dikeh, who is one of somebody we thought was a friend of his, because at a point they were constantly in each other's company. As celebrities continue to strive to stay relevant, to stay in the news, they keep crying wolf. And the day something actually happens, people will take it as another gimmick, and may that not be the case anyway. I have seen really absurd things. And if you think that here in Nigeria we're not slacking, the Americans have taken it to a whole new level. Earlier this year, just before Easter or around Easter, which is when Christians celebrate the risen Christ, this black musician who's into country music, Lil Nas X, he might not even be too popular here in Nigeria. He'll probably be known in big cities, but people in less cosmopolitan areas might never have heard of him. He's not that popular. He's not that good. But he's this black musician who somehow made it into country music. And if you're the kind of person who follows music keenly, you'll know that country music is one of those genres that is almost exclusively white. So to have a young black man come into country music and do a good job, I mean, that was about 3 or 4 years ago. Old Town Road, I think, was the title of that song. He made a hit with that song. It was a duet with Billy Ray Cyrus, Miley Cyrus' dad. And that song became a hit, particularly with very young audiences. Children in what we would call primary school loved the song, and he particularly pandered to them and so on. And so they were a huge fan base for him. Until earlier this year, around April, during Easter, which I have said is when Christians celebrate the risen Christ globally. This Lil Nas X, who I strongly suspect has a Christian background, decided to use that week to debut his new music video, where he's seen cavorting around with Satan, at the end of which he performs some kind of suggestive acts with Satan and then ends everything by breaking Satan's neck. A very graphic and not very pleasant video. I had the misfortune of watching it when so many people were complaining about it, and it's not something, even for entertainment purposes, it didn't work for me. It was just there. But he pushed all the boundaries as much as he could, released a number of sneakers. I think they were exactly 666 in number, a very controversial number among Christians because it is perceived as the devil's number. So those sneakers, exactly 666 pairs, were released, and they all had a drop of human blood in them. They had the pentagram, which is considered to be a symbol of Satanism, and so on and so forth. And Hollywood celebrated this guy, you know, everything. He came out, he's gay, and all this and all this. Well, maybe because I'm a bit conservative in my approach to particularly things to do with religion, spirituality, morality, and so on and so forth. I may not be the best Christian out there, but I identify as Christian. And because of that, there are certain things that I will not explore, even for the fun of it, even as a joke. And I think that holds true for most people of any faith. Even if you're not like a hardcore practicing, you respect your beliefs. You try to abide by them as best you can, and there are just certain things that you don't play with. So, for this person who I am almost certain comes from a Christian background, to come out in Holy Week with this kind of content as a means of entertainment or as a means of generating controversy so that he could make more money, I didn't see it as just entertainment. I honestly believe that even if he thinks that it's entertainment, he's grossly mistaken. You don't go that far into the dark side. You don't go and experiment with things that you don't fully understand when they're spiritual. It isn't like walking into somebody's house and then you see and you find an art piece on the table and you pick it up and take a closer look at it. It's not that. These are spiritual things that sometimes even that faith that you practice, you do not fully understand everything they do. So you try very hard not to go experimenting with other things that you don't know. But this guy, he has the pentagram. He seems to be celebrating Satanism. He has these shoes with the human blood in them. I don't know, the human blood is there to serve. I don't know what purpose it was meant to serve. All because he wants to create shock value. He wants to stay relevant. And so on. Okay. But that passed. That was in Easter. I'm only bringing it up now because it ties in with this, this whole thing Tonto Dikeh is doing now with her friend Prince Kpokpogri and Bobrisky. And then, of course, how can I forget Lady Gaga? Lady Gaga, at each award ceremony, Lady Gaga would show up weirdly dressed. At a point, she showed up in something that looked like an egg. She had a number of people carrying her. I think there were about 6 people carrying her in that egg-shaped thing that looked a bit like a coffin. And then another time she showed up and she was wearing a dress ostensibly made of raw meat, and once I saw the raw meat dress, I was like, okay, that's it. What else? Like after you've worn a dress that's made of raw meat, what else are you going to explore with? And since that, they've pushed the boundaries, they've pushed the shock value so far now that it's almost impossible to be shocked. People are jaded. Nobody cares. You can't shock anybody beyond 5 minutes. There's so much depravity everywhere, particularly on the internet. Even when you are not looking for it, it flies in your face. You visit one site very innocently and something very nasty and ugly just pops out at you. And before you know it, you've lost 5 minutes, 5 seconds of your life that you will never get back, staring at something out of sheer shock before you even exit. So just to say that, I get where my dear sister is coming from. She's trying to stay relevant, and I think she has run out of more creative ways of doing it. So now she's exploring the seedy side. There was a time when she started describing herself as a born-again Christian. Not quite a few months later, we heard that she was going to debut a reality show where she would go stark naked on air. I don't know if that ever happened. So all the back and forth just reveals to you somebody who is trying with her last breath to stay, socially relevant. That's the way I see it, And it's getting desperate, it's getting sad. I wish she'd give herself a break. It's not that deep. We know you as an actor. Approach 1 or 2 producers, maybe take a cut in pay or something. Put out another good movie. Show us your talent. That's a better way of staying in our consciousness than all these small things that's helping other people to shine even more than you. So that's all I'd say. If you want to do the shock value thing, it's usually very short-lived. So, call up your talent. Do something that's more talent-based so that it will last longer in our consciousness than this one. This isn't it. It's a bit too desperate. It's a bit too blasé. It's a bit too much, and people are getting tired. I wasn't even going to do anything on this. I can't think of anything to say today. That's why I went, into the Tonto Dikeh thing. I was going to ignore it because it's nothing. There's no content there. He's going to leak your nudes. So what? Nobody cares. I don't even think that the nudes will garner any. I don't think any. It won't even generate clicks. It won't generate enough clicks. That's the truth. There's the kind of person that you'll hear that the person's nudes are coming out and you can't wait, because you really. Tonto Dikeh's nudes are coming out. So what?